Day 497 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 3227, vowels game in a string. The difficulty level is medium, but don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. Alice and Bob are playing the game on a string. You are given a string S. Alice and Bob will take turns playing the following game where Alice starts first. On Alice's turn, she has to remove any non-empty substring from S that contains an odd number of vowels. On Bob's turn, he has to remove any non-empty substring from S that contains an even number of vowels. The first player who cannot make a move on their turn loses the game. We assume that both Alice and Bob play optimally. Return true if Alice wins the game and false otherwise. The English vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. All right, y'all, so that may seem a little bit confusing. So let's go ahead and take a look at these examples just to make sure that we are doing this problem correctly. Now, before we get into the examples, the first thing we need to understand is what is a substring. It says a substring is a contiguous sequence of characters within a string. So this just means a substring is a sequence of characters, contiguous meaning they're right next to each other, sequence of characters within a string. So like this EE might be a substring, this COD might be a substring, this CODE might be a substring, but notice how all of the characters are next to each other. That's what makes them contiguous. Boom. So now let's take a look at example one. So in example one, we have our input S equals a string. It says LeetCoder. The output is true. Explanation says Alice wins the game as follows, because remember, we return true if Alice wins. So it says Alice plays first and she can delete the underlined substring in S, which is LEETCO, which contains 3 vowels. The resulting string is S is DER. So Alice goes on her first turn. She's allowed to remove a substring that contains an odd number of vowels. So she chooses this substring. Boom. This has an odd number of vowels. It has 2 E's right here and an O right here. This whole substring is contiguous, so it fits the requirements. And at the end, the resulting string that's left is DER. So this now S equals DER because all of this has been removed during Alice's turn. So now it's Bob's turn. Bob plays second. He can delete the underlying substring in S, D, which contains 0 vowels. The resulting string is ER. So remember, Bob has to remove an even amount of vowels, right? So since this is the only string left, he can't remove any vowels, because if he removed the E, that would be 1 vowel. He's not allowed to remove 1 vowel, one vowel, because 1 is odd. He can only remove an even amount of vowels. So by removing this 1D, that's 0 vowels, but I guess in this scenario 0 is an even number. So since 0 is an even number, that's a valid move for him, and he just removes this D. So now it's Alice's turn. Alice plays third. She can delete the whole string S, which is ER, which contains 1 vowel. Remember, she's allowed to remove an odd number of vowels. So when she's left with this, she can remove the whole string, because the whole string only has an odd number of vowels and only has 1 vowel, which is this E. So she could just remove it all. So now it's Bob's turn. Bob plays fourth. Since the string is empty, there's no valid play for Bob, so Alice wins the game. Because remember, it says right here, where does it say? Oh, the first player who cannot make a move on their turn loses. Boom. So right here, Bob cannot make a play because the string has already been deleted. There's nothing else left. And since Bob cannot make a move, that means Alice wins. So we return true. So let's take a look at example 2 where Bob wins. And it's a little tricky because there are no vowels. So in example 2, we have our input S equals a string B, B, C, D. This time the output is false. explanation says there is no valid play for Alice in her first turn, so Alice loses the game. So since Alice goes first and there's no move for her to make because there are no vowels, she automatically loses and the output is false. So now that we understand the question, y'all, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. As y'all, I'm sure y'all are aware, the solution is not going to be that difficult at all. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to define our list of vowels that Alice will be interested in. So we could say, or Alice and Bob will be interested in. So we could say vowels, let vowels, then we'll say colon. It's going to be an array of characters, and we are going to insert our vowels, or not insert, but we are going to initialize this array of characters with our vowels. So we're going to open up some more parentheses. We are going to say quotation marks A. Then we're going to do the same thing we're going to say comma, do the same thing for E, comma, do the same thing for I with the quotation marks, comma, then we're going to do O, comma, and then we're going to do U. Boom. Now we're going to loop through each character in the string. So for that, we're going to come right here, and we're going to say for char ns where vowels dot contains, open up the parentheses, char. So the where clause is going to check only characters that are vowels. And then we're going to come right here, we're going to open up the brackets. And if any vowel is found, then Alice wins. So we could just return true. Otherwise, if no vowels are found after scanning the whole string, that means Alice does not win. So we could just say return false. Boom. And that's all she wrote, y'all. So let's give it a run. Make sure it runs correctly before we submit it. Not that much code at all. It's accepted. So let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. Let's see, and look at that, y'all. 35 milliseconds beats 100% of users. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to see, y'all. So with that being said, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.